Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Business Equity for Indy's membership orientation session. My name is Jeffrey Harrison, and I'm the president and CEO of Citizens Energy Group, and I'm honored to be the chair of Business Equity for Indy, or what we are calling it, BEI. And for those of you who have joined already and are ready to get started, thank you and welcome. And for those of you who are not yet members, but are excited to learn more about, again, this initiative, we are glad you're here and welcome as well. Today, we will cover some ins and outs of what it means to be a BEI member and the benefits and responsibilities that come with it. You will also have the opportunity to join if you, again, have not already done so. So after the presentation, we will have a panel discussion featuring Stacia Murphy from the Indy Chamber, Alicia McCoy from Peak Mind, Holly Harrington from the Indianapolis Airport Authority, and Mayman Powers from Powers and Sons Construction. And you will have an opportunity to ask questions before we go and before we close. And there's a Q&A box and process where you can ask questions, and then we'll be able to answer those through the session as well. So today we're going to touch on a number of topics, including BEI's mission and why we started. We'll also discuss BEI's structure, how we're making an impact, our 3 focus areas, and how and why you should become a BEI member company. I'm going to advance. My slides are not advancing. There we go. Business equity, just a little bit of background here. Business Equity for Indy was established in October of 2020. And it's actually a joint venture between the Central Indiana Corporate Partnership, or CICP, and the Indy Chamber in partnership and in collaboration with the Indianapolis Urban League. And we're focused on growing a more inclusive business climate and building greater equity and economic opportunity for the Indy region's Black residents and people of color. Advancing racial equity throughout Indiana remains a key priority for local organizations who are empowering businesses and their employees to create and sustain inclusive, diverse, and equitable workplaces, policies, and agendas. If we go back and look at why BEI started, we formed when the social injustice movement surrounding the death of George Floyd spurred the business community to really come together and think about what we can do and what we should be doing differently in the treatment of Black people and people of color. Leaders in the business community who were board members of CICP and the Indy Chamber were asking the question, what more could be done to advance a fairer and more inclusive future for our city's Black community and other people of color? And so BEI was the launching platform to help create real change here in Central Indiana and with Central Indiana companies. Let's talk about management of BEI for just a moment. BEI's management committee is comprised of founding partners who have helped guide and advise this joint venture to move the needle and reduce hurdles for Black people and other peoples of color. Over BEI's first 2 years, the management committee's work really concentrated on 5 different task forces to help us identify clearer and more actionable areas of focus. And that work has led us to the establishment of the 3 pillars of BEI that we'll share with you today. BEI advances racial equity by focusing on those 3 pillars of people, procurement, and policy. The people pillar centers on eliminating hurdles to increase equity and inclusion in Indy's workforce. The procurement pillar is concentrated on increasing the launch, the growth, and the success of Black-owned enterprises. And then the policy pillar is directed toward engaging and supporting the community in effective advocacy efforts. Now let's take a look at some time to and let's take some time to delve more deeply into each pillar. And to talk about the people pillar, I'll now turn it over to Kristen Lampkin from CICP and Taylor Hughes from the Indy Chamber. Team.
Thank you, Jeff. Hello, everyone. My name is Kristen Lampkin. I'm the Director of Business Equity for Indy, and very excited to talk with you all and share some of the activations that we have under the People Pillar. So the People Pillar is truly focused on eliminating hurdles to increase equity and inclusion in Indy's workforce. Business Equity for Indy's BEI People's Pillar is committed to ensuring the advancement of Black professionals through talent development, employee support, and corporate resource sharing. The People Pillar compressed of three previous task forces. We merged them in late 2022 to direct their focus more broadly on advancing the equity of Black individuals. Those three task forces were hiring and promotions, learning and talent, and impediments to health. Hiring promotions really focused on eliminating hurdles to increase equity and inclusion in Indy's workforce. Learning and talent was promoting opportunity and access for all Black people to receive high quality education and training opportunities. And impediments to health focus was to address disparities to healthcare access and funding focusing on COVID-19 vaccinations, infant and mortality health, and food security. All three of these task forces came with strategies and recommendations that now our People Pillar is activating. One of the ways we are doing this is through People Community of Practice. Next slide, please. People Community of Practice aims to identify and document, promote best practices to advance Black professionals and other minority employees in their career trajectory. People Community of Practice launched in 2023, so this year. We're really excited about the work we've been able to do. We have 4 different events. We've had 3 different events so far this year, and we'll have another additional event coming up in October, so please stay tuned if you haven't already checked out our website. With this group, we're really focused on attracting those that are in HR, DEI, or talent-focused leaders. And they will walk away having a better understanding of strategies and recommendations that they can implement into their organization. It doesn't matter if they're small, mid-size, or large-size organization. There's opportunity for you to make change when it comes to the workforce for Black residents as well as other people of color. So we are really excited to share with you that this is a great way for you to really make change within your workplace. I will now pass it over to another section of our People Pillar, which is the Workforce Pilot. Taylor, I'll let you take it.
Thanks, Kristen, and thanks everyone for joining today. The Workforce Pilot is an exciting program. We are in year 1 of 2 years of an inaugural cohort working with small and medium-sized businesses to really answer the question of how can you use DEI best practice strategies to solve for the talent challenges that all employers face. What we found out is it takes a lot of work to put into practice some of these things we know are optimal strategies for your company. But when it comes to diversifying the talent that you attract to apply for your positions, optimizing the practices you use to onboard someone into your company, or investing in your talent as whole people, and thinking about their health and well-being as a retention strategy. These are things that we've been able to come alongside these inaugural cohort companies and help them to implement within their own companies. We've put together about 150 hours to date of facilitation and coaching sessions with them, and we're very excited to help them launch their implementation plans going forward. This set of capacities is something that we hope to roll out from outside this inaugural cohort to enroll new companies starting in summer of next year. So we'd love to talk to you more about ways that we can help your company implement strategies to attract and retain diverse talent more effectively. I believe from here, I'll hand it over to Christina and Stacia.
Thanks, Taylor. So up next, we have the second P, which is procurement. The procurement pillar, as Jeff stated earlier, exists to increase the launch, growth, and success of Black-owned enterprises. The way that we do that is through a holistic two-pronged approach. We work with our corporate partners about ensuring that they have a robust supplier diversity program that will help them ensure that they are enlisting equitable sourcing practices. And then also we work with the business owners to make sure that they are aligned well to successfully bid on contracts. We do that a couple of different ways. One of the ways is through our flagship event, which is the Procurement Roundtable. It is a quarterly event that is hosted by one of our corporate partners each time. And we have education at the forefront. We start with a training session, one specifically for the procurement officers and supplier diversity practitioners. And that's led by Reggie Williams, our national consultant. And they talk about issues that they face within their corporations or things that they would like help with or ways that they can advance their initiatives to help support, again, those equitable sourcing practices. And then at the same time, we have a session that is for the business owners that's led by Indy Black Chamber. And they talk about issues that they face as business owners. Some of those things have been contracting or other ways that they need to help with relationship building. So some of our main focuses are access to capital, management, and also marketing opportunities. And by marketing, I mean market access. So relationship building with the procurement officers and supplier diversity professionals. In addition to the quarterly roundtable, we also have annual industry-specific vendor fairs. For instance, there is a community engagement program coming up this month in partnership with IU Health ahead of the second phase or the next phase of their construction project. So we partner with other industry professionals if there is a specific need that they are wanting to address with different business owners that we can help them to collaborate with. We also have, as I mentioned, supplier and purchaser training sessions. A way to engage with BEI procurement is through participation in the peer advisor program. We believe that peer mentorship is very key. Once you are working in this area and working to develop these programs, we know that a lot of issues that are faced are industry agnostic. These are things that everybody sees. So how can we work together to come to some solutions as a whole? Some of the things that have come out of that so far are the 8 best practices, which are essential elements of success for supplier diversity programs on the supplier side, on the purchaser side, but also on the supplier side, we have some other wraparound services and programs that we provide to help overall business development and growth. And I believe next we have Taylor again to talk about the policy pillar. Thank you.
That's right. Thank you, Christina. On the policy side, one of the most important ways to create change at scale and a charge that was given early on by the BEI Management Committee was, how do you help companies and community leaders engage collectively around policies that will advance racial equity, both locally in the Central Indiana region, but also around the state and even at the national level. So the BEI Policy Task Force is dedicated to helping companies and community members do just that. We have translated a lot of what happens at the State House primarily down to corporate and community leaders to help them make sense of the impact on their businesses and communities. And we've also worked on a number of different areas like law enforcement accountability, health equity, and post-secondary attainment. One of the ways that our group interacts during the year is working on research priorities that are affecting the community, even when the session is not in place. and crowdsourcing those priorities so that we can decide what is the most strategic goals to move forward in any given legislative session with our corporate and community partners. Andrew, could we go to the next slide? We engage companies in the policy pillar through events. We have several events throughout the year, including the Indy Chamber Policy Summit, to which all BEI Policy Task Force members are invited, as well as to participate in the Indy Chamber's legislative agenda development process as the primary vehicle to get those priorities lifted to another level and prioritized during the legislative session. The other thing that we do is during session, and you'll hear from Mayman Powers, our chair, during the panel discussion to come later on this call. But we connect with this group once a week to really digest what's taking place in real time at the state level, what impact that will have on communities, and what we as community members and businesses can do to impact that outcome. Give you an example, in the most recent session, there was a large discussion around the 21st Century Scholars Program. This is a program that's existed in the state for a while, but children who come from families of low income, if they make certain good behavior and academic requirements during their high school career, they are entitled to a full ride free education at an in-state university in Indiana. This was a really successful program, but one that many students didn't know about on the front end, and so missed the opportunity to enroll. The enrollment process also is fairly arduous and created barriers to folks taking advantage of the program. So what we were able to do in the last session, as a result of the advocacy of folks on the BEI Policy Task Force, was to make the 21st Century Scholars Program an automatic enrollment. So basically, if you meet the requirements for enrollment in the program, the Commission for Higher Education will automatically put you onto the rolls of the program and enable you to take advantage of those resources as a student when you graduate from high school. We believe that that's going to be a significant impact on especially Black and Brown students in being able to access post-secondary education and the opportunity that comes with that. And so those are the type of priorities that we work on and are able to help mobilize companies around. With that, I believe I'll hand it back to Kristen. Sorry, to Jeffrey Harrison. Go ahead, Jeff.
Thanks, Taylor. As you can see, there are a myriad of benefits associated with being a BEI member company. BEI offers best practices, recommendations, strategies, and programs that you can implement throughout the year to support your organization's DE&I journey. Being involved in the program, I think, sends the right message to employees and builds up our region as a place that cares about a more equitable future. Members will receive data and information on workforce demographics, procurement practices, and public policy advocacy at an aggregate level. As a BEI member company, you're committing to action. You have the flexibility to choose from a wealth of programs and best practices that will equip your company to make the greatest impact. We will also ask you to be transparent with your data, though it will be kept confidential and only reported in aggregate. And so by joining BEI, your company will demonstrate commitment by signaling to your employee stakeholders and potential talent that your organization is actively combating inequity. You will quantify impact by showcasing the tangible returns on diversity and inclusion investments, by implementing best practices and some transparent reporting. You'll also have access to resources to learn from best practices and discover valuable resources to support your DEI journey. You will build connections by joining forces with a network of like-minded companies, all working towards similar goals. And you will contribute to the collective progress by sharing your advancements with the wider BEI membership, collectively showcasing how BEI members are making a positive impact on Central Indiana's community. And it's something that again, very excited about. To talk a little more about BEI's data collection and aggregation efforts, I'd like to introduce Carolyn Mosby with Engaging Solutions. Carolyn?
Good afternoon. Thank you, Jeff. So I'm happy to be here to represent Engaging Solutions today. Engaging Solutions is partnering with BEI to create a scorecard that will share annual data regarding the racial equity in the three prioritized areas, which are people, procurement, and policy. And so this will be information that will be collected on an annual basis from all of our members. It's going to provide visualization of racial equity progress among all the members, and the information will be aggregated to make sure that that the information is held confidential. So I know a lot of times people are hesitant to provide data that we'll be asking for, but we want to ensure you that we respect your privacy and confidentiality, and the information will remain confidential, but it will be presented in a way that is aggregated. And so it is our intention to help. So by providing this information, it's allowing us to gather the information to move us toward the accountability as it relates to racial equity. And so, we're on a mission to drive change and advance racial equity in Indiana-based communities. And so this will help us identify where companies need to support in reaching their racial equity goals, as well as ensuring transparency in that process. Next slide. So on an annual basis, you can expect to receive an online survey where we will collect the data, and Engaging Solutions will be leading that charge. And as I said, it will be aggregated and it will remain anonymous. And again, those three areas are around people, procurement, and policy. And so we look forward to working with you. And again, I just want to stress that we will certainly honor your confidentiality and keep the information confidential. So again, because I know that is a major concern for a lot of people. So we just want to make sure that that we will keep that information confidential. So thank you.
Thank you, Carolyn. And if you had questions, definitely put them in the Q&A and we'll answer them at the end. I would like to now share that our chairman, Jeff Harrison, has shared and stated several times that BEI membership is truly a catalyst for change. And so I would like to welcome Stacia Murphy, our SVP of Enterprise Development for Indy Chamber, and she will introduce you all to our wonderful panelists that will be sharing their experience being part of BEI. Welcome, Stacia.
Thank you, Kristen. And to everyone joining us today, we really appreciate you taking the time to learn more about business equity for Indy and consider joining a movement that is truly impacting our residents here in Central Indiana. So you've heard from some of the leaders in each of the pillars about what business equity for Indy does and how you can engage. And you heard from our chair, Jeffrey Harrison, really how business equity for Indy started and what its goals are overall. And again, to reiterate what Kristen just said, it is a movement for change, a catalyst for change. So now we're going to hear from a few panelists who will discuss how business equity for Indy has impacted them as both individuals and their organizations. So with us today, we have Dr. Alicia McCoy. Dr. Alicia McCoy serves as Chief Executive Officer, CEO of Peak Mind. Alicia has been a business owner and innovator since 2005. For the past 9 years, she has studied neuropsychology and interviewed numerous scientists, therapists, and corporate coaches to determine the best way to transform our workplaces for the better. Her writing, teaching, and educational advocacy work meets at the intersection of disrupting stress in the workplace and strengthening social emotional coping skills and techniques through easy and effective action steps. She will share more and highlights from her upcoming book, Be Well, a Workplace Wellbeing Guide. Next, we have Mayman Powers. Mayman Powers III grew up in the construction industry and spent many summers in high school and college working for the family business. He has served in numerous capacities with Powers & Sons over the years, from laborer and carpenter's apprentice, estimator, project engineer, and project manager to his current role as executive vice president of the company and president of the Indianapolis office. Under his leadership, Powers & Sons Construction has successfully delivered a number of high-profile projects across Central Indiana and Northwest Indiana. Mayman is a graduate of Trine University, formerly Tri-State University, where he earned a Bachelor of Science in Applied Management with a concentration on construction. He also holds an MBA from the Krannert School of Management at Purdue University. And finally, we have Holly Harrington. Holly holds the esteemed role of Senior Director of Equity and Opportunity at the Indianapolis International Airport, where she leads strategic initiatives to enable equitable access to economic and workforce development opportunities. In her capacity as the airport's first equity officer, she actively promotes equity and inclusion within airport operations, fostering a culture of respect and inclusivity for employees, passengers, visitors, and vendors. Holly's dedication extends beyond her professional role, as she actively engages in the community, representing the airport on various boards and volunteering for organizations such as Center for Leadership Development and advocating for youth in STEM. With over 30 years of experience, including a 21-year tenure at Eli Lilly and Company, Holly is a recognized leader in diversity, business development, and numerous other fields. She is a proud alumna of Howard University and remains actively involved in her church, sorority, and family life in Detroit, Michigan. Thank you, panelists, for being here. And Tiara, do you mind sharing or stop sharing the presentation deck so we can see their lovely faces? Wonderful. And Mayman, are you? Yep, there you are. Awesome. Thank you so much for you all being here and just sharing your experience with us. First question, and we'll start with Holly, then we'll go to Alicia, and then Mayman. You all have been involved with BEI well before we opened up this membership platform. What made you connect? What made you connect, and commit to the next level engagement with Business Equity for Indy?
Awesome. Thank you, Stacia. On behalf of the airport, first I want to acknowledge that from the inception, our board member Mayman, who is on the line as well, and Mario were committed to this initiative. And 3 reasons I think we were aligned to our own values, but in the pledge statement that we developed early on from the whole concept was meaningful action. And that's something that the airport is very committed to, making sure not just doing things, but making sure that it's meaningful and it has an impact and we can track it. The other piece about the pledge was trying to ensure that we were doing something and holding each other accountable. So based on, at that time, the individuals that were interested in participating, it wouldn't just be within an organization, it would be across the community. And that was very exciting because we know what we do, but we always know we can get better. And so to be able to learn from others that were also committed, we were hoping we could contribute, but we could also learn so that we can get better. And then last, the progress piece. Early on, there was a commitment not just to talk about what we want to do and what we hope to see from an aspirational standpoint, but that accountability to make sure we're doing meaningful action and track our progress so we could pivot aligns very well with the airport and how we like to do things. So I know we've narrowed down the focus from our original, but the 3 Ps very much align with what we want to do. And we thought we could both contribute and learn from this experience. And so that's why we're involved and we stay involved.
Yeah, Holly. Alicia, what made you commit?
Definitely.
Uh-oh, looks like Alicia, you're frozen.
Stays with me, so hang in there if I.
Okay, we'll switch to
Can
Mayman
you hear me?
and let you work on your
I think
technical
I froze on
difficulties.
you.
We can hear you.
Okay,
Oh,
Mayman, let's
great.
turn to
You
you and I'll
can.
reach out.
Okay. So just ditto what Holly said. And I guess just my personal thing is that I was fortunate to be involved in the very beginning. And so being involved in the very beginning, it got me excited because the discussion was about results and outcome, not just checking a box. And so from the very beginning, I was excited and all in on how myself could be beneficial in helping drive all of our initiatives, and also how our company could be a part of it. So that's my short answer.
Okay, Lisa, let's test your audio.
Awesome. Hopefully you can hear me now.
Just a little bit, but try it one more time.
Hopefully we're in better now.
Yes.
Okay, great. The reason we wanted to do the next level engagement is because the programming has been so amazing. The quality of the speakers and resources at each event were amazing, as well as the handouts and all the resources and documentation that were provided at some of the different events and workshops and the workforce pilot. So knowing what has been done and knowing what's to come made us want to be a part continuing.
Wonderful, thank you. And Mayman, you chair our policy task force and policy pillar. Can you talk about why that was important for you?
Well, I'll start from back a little step there. So I was not excited about chairing this. I was excited about being a part of, and I guess you got to be careful when you say you're willing to help any way possible. Our fearless chair, Jeff Harrison, had a different vision. But just when I got involved in policy and was able to see the disparities and the things that we need to be fighting against in the state house, was just really, I guess, a call to duty of how we need to do more of understanding our policies in the state house and making sure we have policies that are showing that we welcome all in the state, in a thought that if we can be a welcoming state, it will help us be an even stronger economic engine than we already are. So that's what I get out of the public policy group, and just excited to still be a part of it.
Thank you very much. And Holly, you mentioned this in your opening question, but the airport has been with Business Equity for Indy since its inception, really leading what focus areas we should focus on. Can you talk about how that really aligns with the airport's values and your work specifically?
Okay. Yeah, so specifically, and I'll speak to procurement because that's where I've been heavily involved, where we've done the quarterly sessions around, it provides two opportunities. So I guess a two-way opportunity. It has members of the business community, both from the corporation standpoint and minority businesses that are looking for access. And so at the airport, our focus is on, providing equitable access, creating meaningful participation in our processes, consideration, and then ultimately inclusion. And so the procurement focus allowed us to do that in a way differently than what we do every day through collaboration. So again, you're pulling together different organizations, so you begin to learn about how people go about access, but you also get to hear from the businesses if it's working or if there are challenges. Same thing when it comes to participation. It allows you to have kind of a focus group opportunity without scheduling it, but have the dialogue to find out what are some of the challenges that the businesses are facing. So a lot of times we think we understand and we put programs and initiative in place to bridge the gap. But until you know, I say trust but verify and find out if it really worked, this created, you know, a great opportunity to pause every quarter to say, hey, this is what we did. Did this work? And, you know, to be blunt, did it result in business? Because there's so much that you can do in development and showing people the way, but until there POs and contracts on the table, it's still a challenge for the businesses to determine if this was meaningful. So to be able to put some initiatives in place targeted at the businesses that showed up for the BEI and create some connections within our organization has been invaluable, because there are now new MBEs working with us through the pitches that we might not have seen, may not have come to our outreaches and things like that. So it really hit the mark in making the connections, and then just having the support to, you know, contracts are usually big, POs are small, but trying to get the organization to figure out, are there opportunities where we can help some of these businesses get their foot in the door? And in that part, it was real successful. So our traditional process is the bidding. This allowed another avenue to try to do some one-off initiatives. And, you know, examples are, we have diversity groups that have quarterly sessions. And so being able to bring a caterer in to do one of those meetings that we might not have known about, you know, so it's not the normal bid process, but it's something that we do every quarter. And now we've got new businesses that have access. Another one was in the promotional space. We did a bid a while back to get some folks engaged, but when you have some of the smaller projects, in the year, folks were saturated and couldn't meet our needs. So we were able to pull some of the promotional businesses in to help us get some of our stuff done year in. So it was, it's not just participating so you can have your name like on a resume, but we're actually getting meaningful participation from minority businesses. And so just want folks to know it works.
Thank you for that, Holly. I think connecting with your peers, understanding what they do and some of their best practices internally, and sharing that information is super important, but also being connected to businesses you may not have otherwise is really important about business equity for Indy. Alicia, there are probably a lot of businesses out there that think some of these efforts are only for large corporations. Only they are the ones that have team and, you know, enough resources to pull some of these things off. Can you talk a little bit about your business, both what it is, how you hope to leverage what you've learned from the workforce pilot specifically, but also just engaging in BEI?
For sure. And again, hopefully you can hear everything as I'm saying.
You're a little low, but yes, we can hear you.
Business. I saw a lot of folks in the workforce pilot that anything from employees. The consistent thing when we did breakout was as companies continue, these are great policies and practices to put in place at the very beginning. And so that was really critical, and what I heard was influential to most people.
Uh-oh, Alicia, I think we lost you. I'll circle back to you in a second. Okay, so Mayman, I'm sorry, you heard the similar question for you. I know you're a little bit larger than Dr. McCoy's business, but not quite as big as maybe the airport or let's even say Eli Lilly. Can you talk about really how others can get engaged that may not be as big?
Yeah, I think you can get engaged in any size. Um, the just for us, we don't have like a huge HR department. Uh, and so but there's still ways that people that are involved in our hiring can kind of get different perspectives. And we don't have a procurement department, but just still learning best practices from other folks. It's been helpful to understand. And just for us, tracking, uh, we've we've started to do better job tracking, because and that's so we're a small company, and so we didn't do a good job of tracking, and so just the natural process that we're asked to do kind of helps us look at what what we're able to do. And sometimes we have to bid a lot of projects out, so we can't control XBEs as much. But it's still, by having numbers, it just like anybody, it makes us competitive and want to figure out how we can improve. And Holly brought up good examples, because you start to think outside of the box of, well, can we have the catering instead of just going to Subway? Let's figure out how to cater from an MBE firm. So that's what we've got out of it and really enjoyed, even though we're a smaller business. Uh-oh. Now we lost you, Stacia.
You can't hear me?
Oh.
Perfect. Yeah, so I know. Wait a minute. And then- No,
Yes.
yes. I apologize, everybody, for the technical difficulties. My question again to you, Mayman, as a minority-owned business, how do you feel other minority-owned businesses can leverage some of the activities coming out of Business Equity for Indy?
As a minority business, how can other minority businesses leverage? I think, like was talked about earlier, the networking, it's really been helpful for us to be able to network with other large companies, which has opened up, just having those relationships has opened up doors for us. So I would encourage that others to be in part, just simply for the networking and connections you're able to get.
And if I can piggyback, Mayman, some of the businesses said they didn't realize the power of B2B. So even though there are opportunities with the corporations and the municipal organizations that are participating, they have been able to collaborate and network and figure out that they could do business with each other.
Perfect. Making sure you can still hear me, right? Awesome. Kristen, yeah. While I know Alicia was having some technical difficulties too, but would you share from her perspective on how she's been able to leverage some of Business Equity for Indy?
Yes, so we were very grateful for Alicia. We recently had an event, which was a speed mentoring event, which was for 40 Black professionals. So 20 were under 40 and 20 were over 40. And it was a true great partnership that we did together with Mentors of Color. And what our focus was to look at the recommendations that came from two of the task force under people. And the recommendation is that there needed more mentorship for Black professionals. And so this was what we went about that task doing that. And Alicia was one of the mentors that participated in the session. And we were very grateful for her participation. Not only was she engaged with Mentors of Color in the past, but she's been engaged with our workforce pilot. And so during this session, Black professionals were able to talk about some of their struggles and some of the things that maybe they are trying to work on in their career, and hear from their peer group and those that are seasoned in their career. And we were very proud to have Alicia to bring not only her experience in corporate America previously, also her experience as an entrepreneur in a Black-owned business and women-owned business. So it was a very great experience to have her part of that. The other thing is with that actual activation, we were able to have our management committees, companies participate. So those that were already involved with BEI were exclusively invited to the event, as well as community partners. So again, benefits of membership, being able to allow your employees to participate in opportunities like this, where they're able to really get poured into and understand how they can really grow and maybe understand some of the struggles they're experiencing and how they can overcome them. So again, we were grateful for Alicia participating, and she was really pleased with the event from the feedback that she provided. Thank you again, Alicia, for participating.
That was good. Can you answer my question? When she asked the next one? Sorry.
I'm added to the panel.
So you, Holly, and Mayman again, but we'll start with Holly this time. For those who are in attendance who are not currently members, but are on the fence, maybe considering joining, what's one thing you would say is the most beneficial part of joining BEI as a member?
Well, I think we've touched on it, but I would just say the one thing is access to individuals who are like-minded that may already be doing some of this work. So one example is the mentoring relationship that we have on the procurement side, where we have advisees. So you've got people willing to spend some time with you to help you navigate this process. So just can't emphasize enough that there are resources available to assist you no matter what phase you are in the journey to help you go to the next step. So you might be doing good or you could be doing great, but we could all be doing better. And so to have people at different points of the journey to push would benefit everyone.
I've been dying the whole time since I'm on the airport board. I've been dying the whole time to speak for Holly, so I can't resist that. So I just want to say from an airport perspective, Holly hears from board members that we gotta continue to do better with our we have good numbers, we have great numbers, but we gotta continue to be better because we believe we're a community airport and we need to be representative of the community, and we need to make sure we bring public value to the community. So so she's always getting pressure from board members to do more. So this is a solution to help her get results to do more. So I know that's a big benefit from her perspective. Just from my personal business perspective, I think Holly kind of said it well. Being able to work and collaborate with like-minded folks that want results and that want to make an impact to help us be better as individual companies and better as a community, as a state. That's really a big reason why being a part of BEI is important.
One last time, Alicia, are you there?
Hi there.
Perfect. So I wanted to give you the opportunity to talk a little bit about your business, even being small. How have you managed to leverage BEI?
Definitely. Thank you. As the book says, that you mentioned is coming out, give grace when bad Wi-Fi in life happens to your employees. The people pillar really has a well-being focus. And that was one of the 3 sessions that we had in the workforce pilot. And well-being is a big part of that is stress. And so we know the stats that when you have a racially or equitable workplace, and when people feel like they belong, you have higher turnover or lower turnover and higher job performance and fewer sick days. And so obviously that's near and dear to what Peak Mind does when we're disrupting stress in the workforce. And we look at the 150 reasons of why our employees are stressing. And so it varies. But as we continue to grow, when you're a small company, you really want to put the policies and procedures in place early on if you really want to be a successful business as you grow. And so in the workforce pilot, the policies and the procedures that we went over, and getting to talk to other groups and cohort members and share best practices and what's worked for somebody, and get other people's feedback is great to have when you're in that cohort And, getting to give back is also a big part. And so Mentors of Color is a part of the people group. And so I was able to mentor 3 younger professionals in their career growth a couple weekends ago. And so that was great to not only be able to absorb information, but also to give back to others.
Wonderful. And then I'll give you the last question for today, which is, what's one thing you would tell our audience who may be considering joining BEI as an official member as to the benefit of being so?
Well, in the workforce pilot, you get access to, we had access to great experts from PricewaterhouseCoopers. And so 4 folks from across the US flew in to coach us. So it wasn't just, you guys were fantastic and you guys are a wealth of knowledge as well, but to have their expertise and the fact that they travel all across the United States and do this in a lot of other chambers of commerce, the information that they were bringing to our local city was really, I think, cutting edge. And getting to stay in touch with them. And so you're building your resource network of really successful and wise individuals, and not just folks from the chamber or CICP, but it's a bigger group of people that you get access to.
Wonderful. Well, thank you all panelists for sharing your time and your expertise today. I think it's really helpful to hear not just from us who are leading some of these initiatives and activations with BEI, but directly from those getting those benefits and seeing the change that happens in your organization. So, and thank you everyone for joining. Right now, we'll turn it to the audience to see if there are any questions that you have, either about membership benefits or any questions for our panelists. Hey, I don't see any in the chat. So if there
Stacia,
are
this
no,
is Kristen, sorry.
go ahead.
There were some questions that were in the chat that maybe we should answer out loud.
Please
in the
go ahead.
Q&A, so that in case other people had the same question. So one question was, will we get a copy of this presentation? We will provide you a copy of the presentation to all attendees after the info session. The other question was, how many members of BEI are there? We become members because we're participating in the workforce pilot and then got a free membership. Are there some who have joined directly? So the answer to that question is there are 28 members currently that are part of BEI. And if you go to businessequity.indy.com, you will be able to access and see all of our members under our banner. And so again, membership is free. Remember that membership is free. So everyone that's here today should be signing up if you're not already a member. All right, so those were the questions that were in the Q&A box. Looks like we just got another one.
One more. We have already joined. How do we get started? Kristen, you want to take a stab at that one?
Yes. And so if you've already joined, you should have received an email confirming your membership application being received. And then we will be following up with you to let you know how you're able to engage in the 3 pillars and different events that are taking place so that you are aware. So if you have not received that information, please let us know. We will drop the email in the, well, there's no chat for you all to see. We will make sure that we send you an email follow-up after this day. So if you have not received any correspondence of information, please let us know.
Stacia and Kristen, are there any upcoming events that we could highlight? And I wasn't on the front end, that we could encourage someone who is trying to figure out how to get started to attend, and then maybe see if we could match them with somebody so they have a buddy. Because I know the advisee program on the procurement side helps, that if you don't know anyone already involved, to meet somebody or at least have a conversation on the front end, and then you've got somebody in the room once you get there.
Great question. At the beginning, Tiara, I believe, mentioned, or Christina mentioned, we have one this month with IU Health, and I am spacing on the date, but that one is for the procurement pillar. Christina, you want to weigh in?
Sure. So on September 29th, which is a Friday at Martin University in the Gatheratorium, we have an event in cooperation with IU Health. And then on November 9th, we have our fourth quarter roundtable, which will be held at the Idle Georg Museum. And our host organization for that one is Jeff Harrison's organization, Citizens Energy Group, along with IEA as well.
And all this
we can
information will
shoot
be sent to you all as well. Once
that.
you become a
Yep.
member, you will receive that information. And if you subscribe to our website, you will get additional information too. But we want to make sure we give you the dates so they can be on your calendar if you don't have them already. Thank you, Christina.
Yep, there's also a newsletter for the procurement roundtable too. If you're interested, we can share that out for you as well. We tend to have a lot of our events posted in there too.
Also, we have a people community of practice. It's going to be a virtual people community of practice, and we will be talking about upskilling and bringing more education awareness of resources out there, whether you're a small, mid-size, or large-size organization. So we will be sending out that Eventbrite for you to register. Again, one of the benefits, again, not only membership is free, but our events are also free. But it is, you do, when you are a member, you do get early access of knowing about these events prior to maybe those that have attended in the past that are not members of BEI. So again, membership has its privilege.
Well, thank you, Kristen, for jumping in, answering some of those questions. I don't see any more in the chat. So thank you all for your time. I'm going to turn it now over to Jeff Harrison to close us out.
Great. Thank you to Stacia and to our panelists for sharing your time and your stories. And then thank you to our other presenters as well. And then also a final thank you to our audience for joining us today. We sincerely appreciate your interest in BEI and becoming a member. And if you have already become a member again, company, thank you for taking the time, the energy, and the effort to grow a more inclusive business climate and build greater equity and economic opportunity for Indy region's Black residents and people of color. Thank you very much. This concludes our membership orientation event. If you have any further questions, I think we'll remain online for a few more minutes here, just to allow other questions that may come in at the last minute to be answered. But other than that, please, everyone, have a great afternoon. And again, thank you for joining us today. Bye now.